I thought it was just dinner with my boss. Until he made me this offer. True infidelity story, safe version. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 34 years old, married to Daniel, and I work as a project manager at a marketing firm in Chicago. Life had always been fairly steady for me, and while I wasn't chasing a wild, adventurous lifestyle, I loved the comfort of routine. I was proud of what I'd built, a good career, a kind husband, and a circle of close friends who kept me grounded. Still, beneath the surface of routine, there's always the possibility of a surprise, a choice, or a temptation that can change the course of your life. For me, that moment came on what I thought was just an ordinary Tuesday evening, when my boss, Richard Hayes, invited me to dinner. Richard had always been a professional but charismatic leader. He was the kind of man people described as magnetic. He was tall, confident, and always knew how to command a room during meetings. He also had a reputation for being ambitious, and sometimes, a little too persuasive. For me, though, he was just my boss. Nothing more. When he suggested we meet for dinner at a nice restaurant downtown to discuss an upcoming campaign, I didn't think much of it. Business dinners weren't unusual in my line of work, and I assumed he wanted to go over presentations and budgets in a more relaxed setting. I told Daniel about it, and while he raised his eyebrows slightly, he shrugged and said, "It's part of your job, Em. Just don't let him talk you into working extra hours." I laughed and kissed his cheek before I left that night. Little did I know how complicated things would get. The restaurant was a quiet Italian place with dim lighting and warm decor. As soon as I walked in, I spotted Richard sitting at a corner table. He stood up and greeted me with his usual charm. "Emily, glad you could make it. I ordered us some appetizers already, I hope that's okay." We started with small talk, how work was going, the latest office gossip, even a funny story about one of our co-workers accidentally sending an email to the wrong client. Everything felt easy, casual. But as the evening went on, I noticed something unusual. Richard wasn't bringing up the campaign at all. Instead, he kept steering the conversation toward me. "How long have you and Daniel been married?" he asked, leaning forward with genuine curiosity. "Almost 7 years," I replied, sipping my water. "We met in college. He's been my best friend ever since." Richard smiled but didn't say much in response. He simply observed me, as if studying my face for something unsaid. It made me shift uncomfortably in my seat. Finally, after the main course arrived, he leaned closer and lowered his voice. "Emily, I didn't bring you here just to talk about work. There's something I want to discuss with you. Something personal." My heart skipped. "Personal?" I repeated, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Yes," he said carefully. "I value you as more than just an employee. You've shown incredible dedication, and I think you deserve more recognition. But I also think you and I could build something outside of the office. Something separate." For a second, I didn't understand what he was suggesting. Then it hit me. He wasn't talking about a project. He was talking about himself. He was offering me an affair. I froze. My fork slipped slightly against the plate. "Richard, I'm married," I said firmly, though my voice trembled. "I know," he replied smoothly. "I respect that. But sometimes, life gives us opportunities we don't expect. I'm just putting it on the table." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My boss, a man I had respected for years, was asking me to betray my husband. I felt a rush of anger, disappointment, and disbelief all at once. I pushed my plate away, suddenly losing my appetite. "Richard, I appreciate that you think highly of me, but this isn't appropriate. I love my husband, and I'm not going to risk my marriage or my integrity for anything like this." For a moment, his confident facade faltered. He looked at me, then down at his glass of wine, as if he hadn't expected such a direct rejection. "I didn't mean to offend you," he said finally. "I just thought there might be more between us." "There isn't," I said, standing up. My voice was steady now, stronger. "And if you respect me at all, you'll keep this conversation between us and never bring it up again." The silence that followed was heavy. Eventually, Richard nodded. "You're right. I crossed a line. Consider it forgotten." I left the restaurant that night shaken. Driving home, my hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. I kept replaying the moment over and over in my head. Should I tell Daniel? Should I report Richard to HR? Or should I pretend it never happened and move on? When I finally walked into our apartment, Daniel was sitting on the couch watching TV. He looked up with a smile. "Hey, how was dinner?" I paused at the doorway, my heart heavy. And then I made a choice. I sat down beside him and told him everything. Every word Richard had said, every emotion I had felt. Daniel listened quietly, his expression serious. When I finished, he took my hand and squeezed it. "Thank you for telling me, Em. That means a lot. I trust you. And I know this isn't easy." I felt tears well up in my eyes. "I don't want to lose us over something like this." "You won't," he said firmly. "We'll handle this together." The next day, I went to HR. It wasn't easy, but I reported Richard's behavior. To my relief, they took it seriously. They assured me that my position at the company wouldn't be affected, and that his conduct would be addressed appropriately. It wasn't the smoothest path forward, things at work were tense for a while, and Richard avoided me completely, but in the end, I knew I had made the right choice. Looking back, that dinner taught me something important. Life will always test you, sometimes in unexpected ways. But what matters most is how you respond. I chose honesty, integrity, and love over temptation, and it only made my marriage stronger. And that's the story of the night I thought I was going to dinner with my boss, but instead, I faced a choice that could have changed everything.